Welcome to Truman's Town Hall with your host, Matt Truman.
Hey everybody, it's Matt Truman on mute. Sorry. I do that from time to time. Hope everybody's doing well out there tonight. I got a few news stories to drop on you. Lots of stuff is happening around the world, and I wanted to bring it to you tonight on a special edition of Truman's Town Hall. We may go live later in the week, depending on how things escalate. Folks, things are escalating quick around the world, and I wanted to share it with you so you'd be the first to know. Now, if you're watching this, like the YouTube page, the Rumble page, the Twitter page. That's where we're at tonight. Subscribe. Do all that. Like and then subscribe and comment and all that good stuff, if I could speak English. Anyway, I'm going to start out showing you guys a news story that just popped up. All right, everything's out of order. So let's start with this one. This is Iran can make fissile material for a bomb in about 12 days. This is out of the Jerusalem Post. As folks may know, Benjamin Netanyahu was put back in power by his party. They're in control now. Benjamin Netanyahu is back. This from the Jerusalem Post: Iran can make fissile material for a bomb in about 12 days. U.S. official. Folks, Iran and Israel, if you didn't know, I'm sure you do, they don't really get along too well. And I believe that Iran and Israel may end up going at it a little bit. So you got a couple different factions. You have Russia, Iran, North Korea, China. We'll get to that here in a minute. Brazil is in on this action. We'll get to that. A lot of different things are happening. While I'm just going to read from this article here. While U.S. officials say Iran has grown closer to producing fissile material, they do not believe it has mastered the technology to actively build a bomb. So that's what we've been talking about. Does Iran have the capability of building a nuclear weapon? Don't they? The Jerusalem Post is saying 12 days. Iran could make enough fissile for one nuclear bomb in about 12 days, a top U.S. Defense Department official said on Tuesday, down from the estimated 1 year it would have taken while the 2015 Iran nuclear deal was in effect. Folks, does Netanyahu, this is the Jerusalem Post, so this is an Israeli newspaper, does Netanyahu believe in the Iran nuclear deal? As we remember, previously, President Trump got out of that deal. He didn't believe in it. And he was, and when Biden came into office, he was never able to restart the Iran nuclear deal. Undersecretary of Defense for Policy Colin Kahl made the comment to a House of Representatives hearing when pressed by a Republican lawmaker why the Biden administration had sought to revive the deal, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. And it says, because Iran's nuclear progress since we left the JCPOA has been remarkable. Back in 2018, when the previous administration decided to leave the JCPOA, it would have taken Iran about 12 months to produce one bomb's worth of fissile material. Now it would take about 12 days. Kahl, the third-ranking Defense Department official, told lawmakers. We're under the Biden administration. Biden is probably, Joseph R. Biden, our president, is probably going to announce he's running for president again in the United States. Trump's already said he's running in 2024. Nikki Haley, there's another fella, I can't remember his name, will probably remember it here soon when they start to debate. But anyway, for me, it's forgettable. But do you believe that Joe Biden's administration is going to say anything favorable to the Trump administration? I don't believe that's going to happen. Nor would Trump say anything favorable about Biden's administration. That's how politics works. Okay. So we're going to bring up the next article. Folks, a lot of stuff's happening. This is something, when I saw it, I was amazed. The Washington Free Beacon. Iranian warships dock in Brazil. So we're talking about Iran. I don't remember a time of a news report, I'm sure there's one out there, that Iran was over in this hemisphere of the world, or this part of the world, the Americas. They're in Brazil. I know hemispheres are north and south. Anyway, Iran warships dock in Brazil. Ships are dangerous development and a direct threat to the safety and security of America's, Cruz says. 2 Iranian warships docked in Brazil on Tuesday, fueling concerns about Tehran's militarization in the region. Yes, of course. There are a lot of foreign actors, foreign governments that are trying to get to South America. They're trying to take advantage of the Venezuela opening, Argentina, now Brazil with their new president. There was an election in Brazil last year, and it was former president. He was the former president of Brazil. Now he's the president again. His name is Lula. That's his last name. Lula da Silva. Luis. He's a left-winger. There was a right-winger who was president last time. There's a whole big thing. You know, it's kind of like the Trump thing, that the elections weren't done right. I don't know. You can make your own minds up for that. I'm not here to tell you how to think about elections. That's your decision. But I'm going to bring up, we're going to read a little bit of this article. The 2 ships docked at a port in Rio de Janeiro after arriving in the Panama Canal last month. The arrival of these ships, both of which are sanctioned by the United States, set up a potential diplomatic showdown between the Biden administration and Brazil, which could face sanctions for hosting these vessels. They probably will face sanctions. The United States is using the economic power of the United States, which may be waning. Folks, you got to understand that. If the dollar drops, we as Americans are in trouble. We have to protect the value of the dollar. And I don't know if we're doing that so much. The docking of Iranian warships in Brazil is a dangerous development and a direct threat to the safety and security of Americans. Senator Ted Cruz, Republican of Texas, told the Washington Free Beacon. These Iranian warships are already sanctioned, and so the port in Rio de Janeiro, where they docked, is now at risk of crippling sanctions, as are any Brazilian companies that provide them services or accept payments, and so are all foreign companies that entangle themselves with the port of those Brazilian companies in the future. Wow. Folks, we are living in strange times. We're living in strange times. All right, I'm going to carry on here. We're going to keep plugging away. Let's see here. Oh, new news on the that thing that happened in 2020. See, I'm on YouTube, so I don't know what we can talk about, what we can't talk about, where they ding you. But new news in the COVID front. I'll say it. Who cares? Let them kick me off. Remember this? Do you guys remember this?
I think we owe a great debt of gratitude to science. Science has, in many ways, helped ease the suffering of this pandemic, which was more than likely caused by science. So, and that's kind of.
Hold on, what's that?
No. Not, listen.
It's coffee. I wouldn't do that to you. I wouldn't do that to you. What do you mean by? Do you mean like perhaps there's a chance that this was created in a lab? There's an investigation.
A chance.
Well, but
oh my
if
God.
there's evidence, I'd love to hear it.
There's a novel respiratory coronavirus overtaking Wuhan, China. What do we do? Oh, you know who we could ask? The Wuhan novel respiratory coronavirus lab. The disease is the same name as the lab. That's just a little too weird, don't you think? And then they ask the scientists, they're like, how did this? So wait a minute, you work at the Wuhan respiratory coronavirus lab. How did this happen? And they're like, a pangolin kissed a turtle. And you're like, no, the name of your lab. If you look at the name, let me see your business card. Show me your business card. Oh, I work at the coronavirus lab in Wuhan. Oh, because there's a coronavirus loose in Wuhan. How did that happen? Maybe a bat flew into the cloaca of a turkey and then it sneezed into my chili. And now we all have coronavirus. Like, come on. Okay.
Wait a second.
What about this? Listen to this.
Wait a second.
All right.
John.
Oh my God. There's been an outbreak of chocolatey goodness near Hershey, Pennsylvania. What do you think happened? Like, oh, I don't know.
All right. So that was Jon Stewart on the Tonight Show with Stephen Colbert. Do you guys remember that? That happened, I don't know, a year or two ago? Was he right? Well, there's news coming out about that as well. Let's see here. I'm going to bring up a couple articles. Let's do that. Let's see here. The Wall Street Journal. Lab leak most likely origin of COVID-19 pandemic, Energy Department now says. Folks, you were called a conspiracy theorist back in the day when you talked about that. Oh, you know what? Perhaps the COVID-19 virus was part of the gain of function research that happens in, I don't know, Wuhan, China, North Carolina. Just science. Trust the experts. Trust science. There you go, folks. Unbelievable. Simply unbelievable. All right, let's bring up another article. I'm going to bring up an article from the Ohio Press Network. Ohio Press Network. So we're here in Ohio, obviously. Breaking. FBI Director Christopher Wray says COVID-19 virus likely came from a lab leak in China. I wonder if this is now coming out. See, back in 2020, 2021, 2022, this was a conspiracy theory. But I wonder if now, since China is about to, I don't know, arm Russia to fight in Ukraine, and we'll have that little proxy war, with all the superpowers condensed in Ukraine. If this is now coming out, like, release it, because now we need to make China the bad guy, Russia the bad guy, which, granted, the CCP, China is not our enemy. The Chinese people are not our enemy. The CCP, the Communist Chinese Party, is our enemy. I believe it's the world's enemy, but that's just my opinion. Let's see here. The FBI has, for quite some time now, assessed that the origins of the pandemic are most likely a potential lab incident in Wuhan. Not a lab incident. It's not just an incident. They take viruses, they mutate them, and they see how they work. And then, whoops, it just slipped out. Level 4 lab, dangerous virus. I don't know. What about the bubonic plague? I don't know. You can name, they create viruses. Scientists they create mice with human type lungs, and then they give these viruses to the mice to see how it reacts. What about the beagles and Fauci? I don't know. Look it up. Don't trust me. Don't trust me. All right. Let's see here. I'm going to share something else. Let's check this out. It's a news story from CBS News. Ladies and gentlemen, let's just sit back and enjoy this report.
All right. So meanwhile, U.S. officials say China is considering giving weapons to Russia to help aid Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. Although no weapons have been delivered yet, concern in Washington remains high. Former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice addressed that issue on Face the Nation yesterday.
It is really important that whoever runs for president of the United States understands the essence of this conflict. The fact that we are defending not just Ukrainian independence, but we're defending a rules-based system that says might doesn't make right. You can't just extinguish your neighbor. And by the way, for those who would say, we ought to be concentrating on the Indo-Pacific because China is really our adversary, Xi Jinping is telling you what he thinks about that, because he is not only watching what is going on in Ukraine, according to our intelligence, apparently, he's even considering getting in on the side of the Russians.
So Isaac Stonefish is here in Studio 57 with us with a little bit of analysis on this. He's a CBS News contributor and founder and CEO of Strategy Risks, a China-focused research firm. Thanks for joining us. What do you think of what Condoleezza Rice had to say?
I think China is already in on the side of the Russians, and we're drawing this line about lethal aid, and we're forgetting the roughly $200 billion of trade that China had with Russia last year.
Mm-hmm.
What about trade with the United States?
Russia's trade with the United States is insignificant. China's trade with the United States is massive.
Right.
And
I meant China. Sorry.
Yes. And it does make it much more difficult for U.S. corporations and U.S. corporate interests to push back against China because of the deep entwining of our two economies, even after what was supposed to be a period of decoupling.
So what's in it for China? I mean, wouldn't it make more sense to sort of sit back and let the West do what the West is going to do? So that, because obviously, and this is the point I think some are making, while our attention is focused on what's happening in Ukraine, perhaps China can see opportunities in the Indo-Pacific region that the United States is not paying attention. They might think, of course, we know that our presence is incredibly robust in that part of the world, not only in Japan and in South Korea, but even in Taiwan. But still, why not just sort of sit back and let the two go at it without getting involved?
I think that's exactly right. And that's what Beijing wants the world to think it's doing. It wants people to think that it's sitting on the sideline, that it wants peace, that it's promoting a peace plan. While at the same time, it is very much on the side of Russia because it's in Beijing's interests for Russia to enmesh the West in a war in the West so that it frees up Beijing to, if it so chooses, try to take the island of Taiwan by force.
All right. We're going to leave that there. Folks, Taiwan, China, there was an Air Force colonel who said that we will be at war with China by 2025. Wow, that's shocking. Now, let me try this on. What if China was able to broker peace between Ukraine and Russia? What if China was able to broker peace between Ukraine and Russia? Would they not be the peacemakers? Would they not look good throughout the world? They would. We need to start looking toward peace in Ukraine and trying to find a way to beat the Chinese to that point. Or we're going to end up in war with everybody, the United States. I don't want to go to war. War is hell. It sucks. All right. Let's listen to Florida Congressman Byron Daniels on his thoughts on funding this war in Ukraine. Let's check this out.
What is our money actually gone to buy? Right now, we're well over $100 billion in aid to Ukraine to fight off the Russian army. But we have no accounting of how the money's actually been spent. That's one of the reasons why so many House Republicans have opposed the continued supplementals after the initial one. But there has to be an end game here. But we always have to remember something else. The Russian military and the Russian government, they're not our friends. They are adversaries to us on the global stage. The United States has an agreement from 1993, the Bucharest Agreement, to protect the sovereignty of Ukraine. So that is something that Bill Clinton at the time signed off. I'm of the belief that if America says they're going to do something, America has to follow through and do it. But that being said, we cannot just continuously fund an endless conflict with no real leadership position to try to bring it to a close. It's irresponsible at best.
All right. Yeah. We need to stop funding the war in Ukraine. We need to figure out how we can broker peace between Ukraine and Russia. I'm just a dude sitting on the internet talking about news. What do I know? Right? But that's my thought on it, right? Just one guy in the world. Peace. What's wrong with peace? Nothing wrong with peace. It's good. Let's all try to live peaceably with each other. Love one another. I mean, good night. All right, I got one more article to share with you, and then I'll let y'all go. I'll try to keep these little updates short. This is from War News 27. It's a Greek website. You guys can go over there and check it out. War News 24/7. Russia's preparations for a NATO conflagration surprise air defense exercises involving fighters in St. Petersburg. If you haven't watched Oliver Stone's interview with Vladimir Putin, I don't know if it's on YouTube anymore or where they shut it down at, but find it. Oliver Stone, great director. Platoon, JFK, The Doors, my favorite movie. I mean, just a number of different great films. He interviews Vladimir Putin for forever. He even has Vladimir Putin watch Dr. Strangelove. Anyway, it's a great interview. He learns a lot about it, and you kind of learn possibly how, publicly how Putin is. But anyway, check that interview out, because St. Petersburg is one of Vladimir Putin's favorite cities. He loves St. Petersburg. That was a long way to get to that. Russia's defense ministry said it conducted anti-aircraft drills, which include fighter jets for interception, after St. Petersburg's Pulkovo International Airport in Russia was forced to suspend flights for an hour today. That's today, the 28th of February. The municipal authority in Russia's second largest city announced via telegram the closure of the airport without explaining why. I'm not on Telegram. I probably should get on Telegram. I tried to get on it once. And, I'm old and not too technologically savvy. According to unconfirmed information transmitted by the media, an unidentified flying object, such as a drone, had been located in the area. City officials later said that the flights resumed in the airspace within a radius of 200 kilometers around what had been temporarily closed, opened around 12 p.m., 11 p.m., or 11 a.m. Greek time. In a statement issued about an hour after flights resumed, the Russian Defense Ministry said it was conducting drills, which had included sending fighter jets in Russia's western airspace. Folks, everyone is getting ready for this war. Everyone. World War III is around the corner. Unless we try to figure out how to live together with everyone. But guess who's always in the way? Government. Government's always in the way. That's what this is all about, really. We need to hold our governments accountable. In the United States, we have a little more leniency to do that because our founders wrote the Constitution. I got folks in here listening or watching from Sri Lanka. On the audio podcast, I got folks listening from Colombia, from India, from United Kingdom, from Australia, from all around the world. Folks, our world has shrank. We're all able to talk to each other. And we kind of realize that we're really not that different. We all want our kids to grow up in a good neighborhood, love each other. We want good education for our kids. We want to be able to eat, right? We want to be able to have a good time. Take our wives out, right? Wives take their husbands out. I don't know. Wherever you live, your culture may be different. Peace, man. That's what it's all about. But I think our governments are taking us into World War III, and it's sad. I don't want to see that. Anyway, I'm going to probably come back on later in the week. So like, subscribe, and these things may get better. I don't know. Who knows? I'll talk to y'all later. Thanks for watching. Thanks for downloading the audio podcast. We're on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Jiva. I mean, we're everywhere on the audio. And we're on YouTube, Rumble. If you're watching this on YouTube, you know the YouTube channel. We're on Rumble at Truman's Town Hall. Just one big thing. So anyway, until Sundays at 9:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're live with the Red Rooster, and we talk about Christianity, God, and things like that. Join us this Sunday, 9:45, and I'll talk to y'all later in the week.